With Lululemon, the real gift happens when your holiday checklist is complete. When you give them the softest loungewear set, you both get more moments like this. And this. And this. This holiday, Lululemon makes it easy to find last-minute gifts that bring presents. Open the moment. Shop now at Lululemon.com.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
77 WABC.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
No, I get by with a little help from my friends.
Classic by The Cure at 7:58 on your Thursday morning. You know, people say to me, would you ever go back and do sports talk radio? And I'm always quick to say, can't do it. The truth is, well, of course I can do it. I mean, if, for example, somebody in sports talk radio was going to pay me a lot more money than doing what I'm doing now, I'll be taking phone calls from some putz in Brooklyn at 9 o'clock in the morning who wants to trade the worst Met player for the best player in the American League. And I'll do it enthusiastically. And I say that because we just had this conversation in the 6 o'clock hour, me and my dear friend Pete Morgan, about taking this show, which we're going to do, to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. But, everything being equal, I love what I do now. And I'll tell you why. Let me bring on Rich Lowry. He's the editor of the Nat Review. Rich, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Hey, good, Sid. If you're ever senator or governor, I want to be your speechwriter. I think I do a good job at it. Here'll be an example. 407 effing years ago.
That is gorgeous. Listen, it'll get just as much play as Lincoln's did. Now, have you ever written for a president before, a president-elect?
I haven't.
Never. Okay.
I haven't.
Okay.
I think it'd be fun. By the way, if you're going to take elected office, be a senator. That's the best political job in the country. Assuming you don't really want to do anything, you just want to get a lot of attention and feel important, senator is the best job. If you want to do stuff, you need to be a governor or mayor.
And the truth is, but everybody keeps telling me, if I really did run against Chuck Schumer, I can beat him. I mean, Joe Pinion came close. Joe's a nice guy. He ain't Sid Rosenberg. If I really did it and really concentrated on it, and we're both Jewish, we don't know who's the better Jew here, I can probably win. But I started by talking about sports talk radio. I said, let me tell you something. Every year this time, for I don't know how many years, news stations, talk shows, they would put together, Rich, you've done this, I'm sure, with your paper, National Review, the top 10 moments of 2024.
Right.
And there was never an issue. It was easy. There was like 11. You left one out, but there were 10 clear-cut moments. The reason why this job is so much better than the Fan or any other sports talk show is you can never in a million years anymore come up with a clear-cut top 10 news story list for the year that was, because the cycle is active and packed every day. Is that not a fair statement?
Yeah, no, absolutely. By the way, I was just thinking about this yesterday, the day before, when the Yankees did the Bellinger trade. I wasn't aware of it. I turned on the fan, and I'm not 100% sure that the trade was public yet, but there was zero sports. It was around 4 p.m. in the afternoon, 5 p.m. Zero sports.
That's Evan.
I have watched.
By the way, that's Evan. That's Evan and the former Giant running back Tiki Barber. That's their show.
Yeah, it seems like they're never talking about sports. But I have listened to the fan a little bit more just because I'm interested in the hot stove. You know, it's interesting how the Yankees are going to try to replace Soto. But yeah, a lot of it is. You know, I'm going to trade. Or Orlando Cabrera for.
No, listen. I love Chris Olivero. He's a brother to me. He really is, and he runs every Odyssey station in New York. He's an amazing guy. Him and Chad Lopez, both amazing guys. But you cannot compare WFAN today. When I was there 15 years ago, you had Imus, you had me and Beningo, you had me and Jody McDonald, you had the legendary combination of Mike and the Mad Dog, you had Steve Summers. You can't compare what's going on there now. It's a joke.
So was Imus a sports talk guy at some point?
Imus was not, but he always had a very, very big-time sports guy on the show. Mike Breen, Sid Rosenberg, Mike Francesa, Chris Russo, Ian Eagle, all of us, Patrick McEnroe, Warner Wolf, John, all did sports.
People are interested in.
Yeah.
Even if they don't want to listen to actual sports radio.
Right, so Imus knew that you cannot. Right, Imus knew that you cannot have a successful morning show in New York without covering sports. And to Imus's credit, he actually liked sports. So the sports guy on the show always had a very generous on-air participation role. Now, I made it even bigger.
What you were to Imus, Alec is to you, except for you used to be able to afford to buy tickets to games. And Justin can't.
It's funny you say that. When Imus would beat my ass much worse than I beat Alex, much worse. And I always wanted to be in that position one day to have somebody like that. And that, to a certain extent, is Justin. But getting back to, if I ask you to give me the top 10 moments of 2000, I mean, Trump winning, that's number one, but impossible, right?
Just everything? Like every news story?
Yeah.
Trump winning, obviously. I would say Elon Musk recapturing the rocket when it came down.
Are you serious?
Has to be a top 10 story, right?
No. Are you serious?
No.
First of all,
what he's done is so transformational in terms of space.
I'm begging you. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Really?
Number two story right off the bat is assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Right? That's big.
That changed. It's kind of a subcategory of the presidential election because it played a huge role in that.
Yeah.
Outcome.
I mean, you got to go with what about? I know it's not in the country, but when Israel takes out Sinwar and Nasrallah, is that worthy?
Huge, yeah. Top 10. I think Assad toppled.
Right, big one. Yep.
What's something that happened earlier in the year? Probably forgetting some stuff.
You forget. Yeah, the RNC. You had. I mean, there's so much stuff.
I don't think RNC is top 10.
What about Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden?
Yeah, top 10.
Easily, right?
Debate.
The debate, right?
Debate, top 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever really sat down and tried to do it, my point is the news cycle is so immense these days, you'd have difficulty picking just 10. You really would. And I think sports is easier because you talk about a couple of big trades, who won the championships.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? Basically.
Yeah. Caitlin Clark's advent as a rookie.
100%. That's a huge story. That may be top 5.
How were you bothered by her Time magazine interview?
How was that interview?
I didn't think it was as bad as some people did, but she used the word privilege with regard to herself, which understandably drove people crazy. I think if you cut that word out, it wasn't so bad. But she, a lot of Megyn Kelly, who I love, is a good friend of mine, hit her for bowing and scraping for being white. I don't think she quite did that. It is a league that's been built on black players, and she said she grew up watching it and loved the black players. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the word privilege was really annoying.
You're on Megyn Kelly's show. You actually brought my name up on that show.
I did.
Yes, you did. We played it. It was very exciting.
You watch your references like a hawk.
Yeah. No, my listeners.
I'm getting tired of hearing Tom Homan praise you. That's been my introduction, I don't know how many times.
Well, I can tell you this. You're not going to hear Tom Homan praising me today. You know why?
No.
He's praising Eric Adams today.
Okay.
He's saying, this mayor, we had a great, great meeting. And to the mayor's credit, he really wants to work with us. So whatever it's worth, the mayor, at least for now, it's early in the game, but at least for now, the mayor seems to be fooling both President Trump and Tom Homan.
Well, that's what he needs to do, right? That's the game he needs to play. But also, if you're Homan, even if you don't believe it, you want to say it to showcase, at least I got one big city mayor on my side. Where's everyone else?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's another big story, 2024, the illegals crossing the border here in the United States.
Yeah, that's been a 4-year story. But you could put a top 10 any year that Biden's been president.
That's true. What do you think about some of these nominees getting through? I had a great conversation with Sean Hannity. That was a big guest on this show yesterday about that. And a lot of us really thought Pete Hegseth was dead in the water. Once he has a good meeting, he used the word good. Once he has a good meeting with Susan Collins, he's got a real good chance of being pushed through the Senate. Now, what are your thoughts on those guys?
I think he does have a real good chance, and I'm with you. I thought it was dead in the water. I didn't think he was turning it around 2 weeks ago when he did those interviews, but he did turn it around, and he's good in this meetings. He's a charming guy. I mean, he's inherently a likable guy. I don't think he's out of the woods. I don't think any of them, Tulsi, Kennedy, and Pete, are fully out of the woods because there could be 3 votes baked in there. Whether he had a nice meeting with Collins or not, she could still vote against him. Murkowski could vote against him. McConnell could vote against him. And I think that's true of all 3 of those. So they can only lose one more. So I kind of bet on all of them making it, but I wouldn't be shocked if one of them ends up going down.
So the biggest story in politics today is this looming possibility of a government shutdown. So Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, puts together this bipartisan bill because I know this. There's a very slim majority in the House. So Johnson almost has to compromise in certain spots. He can't just club Democrats over the head. He's got a very slim majority. But guess what? Trump doesn't want to hear that. J.D. Vance doesn't want to hear that. Elon Musk doesn't want to hear that. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert don't want to hear that. And now the president, Trump, comes out, and he loves Mike Johnson, loves him, always says the right thing. But he hurt Mike Johnson today, no?
Oh, yeah. So Johnson made a mistake here. Yeah, you're right. He's got to compromise. But the compromise, we'll just do a clean so-called continuing resolution, just keep spending levels current where they are currently and get through to the next year. Instead, he added some stuff he thought was necessary, disaster relief, probably more than was necessary, then stuff for farmers. And then Democrats are like, well, we want all our stuff in there, too. So then you get this 1,500-page monstrosity that everyone hates, and once attention really focused on it, it was in trouble. And then, of course, once Elon and Trump are saying it's bad, it's dead. So I think this could really Johnson's existence as Speaker is at risk in a couple of weeks, and I think you just try to do a clean CR and get it through, because shutdown, especially when you have Elon saying, I want to shut down, that means if there's a shutdown fight, you're going to lose. Because they're just going to point to that ex post and saying, see, they wanted to do this. And shutdowns are never popular. So I don't envy the spot Johnson is in, but I think he played it badly. And
he's in trouble. I mean, look, we're not that far away from the House ousting Kevin McCarthy. I had this conversation with Congressman Anthony D'Esposito on the show yesterday. They ousted McCarthy. Some of them wanted Steve Scalise, but there was an issue there. Some of them wanted Jim Jordan, but the New York congregation, they didn't like him in that spot. He never made it through. They get Mike Johnson through. And really, since day one, MTG and others, Matt Gaetz, when he was there, he bitched about Mike Johnson. So what are they going to do? I mean, are they going to be able to find somebody who they can all agree on does a good job?
I think Johnson, he can win the vote in a conference. He can get a majority of Republicans. But then going on the floor, same thing with McCarthy, there's going to be a 1 or 2 vote Republican majority. You can lose 1, 2, or 3 votes, and we probably have enough people on the record to say he's not going to be able to get that. And then it raises the question, what are you going to do next? And I just think this whole exercise is so dumb. I like Mike Johnson. I don't think he's been any better than Kevin McCarthy. I like Steve Scalise. I don't think he's going to be any better than Mike Johnson. The fundamental problem is the majority has been so slender.
Right.
So
that's
so
it.
That's why you have to make terrible choices the way Johnson has with this CR.
Final 60 seconds talking about the House and Congress. So Matt Gaetz retires, right? And he's up for the the AG job. He doesn't get it. He has to back down. Obviously, he backs out. Pam Bondi gets it. But now he's doing a show on OAN with my friend Stella Escobedo, and looks like he's going to be okay. And now the House, out of nowhere, says, nah, we're going to open it up. All those ethics questions about Matt Gaetz that we thought was dead and buried because he resigned. Nah, we're going to open it up. How nauseous is Matt Gaetz this morning?
You quit Congress so they wouldn't do this, basically. And I think that the precedent, as far as I'm aware, is that you don't release an ethics report about someone who's no longer in Congress. So doing this is a bad idea. Doing it out of spite would be terrible. I think he engaged in the very least in very sleazy conduct, but I don't think Congress should be going around its own rules or past practices to screw Matt Gaetz. Let him do his TV show and get on with life.
Totally agree with you. Rich Lowry, this is it for us for 2024. Right. Tomorrow's our last day. We want to thank you for being, you're a dear, dear friend of mine, obviously, but a valued guest. You're great on this show. And want to wish you a Merry Christmas.
You do such a good job. I'm never snowing you when I say that. It's so true. Appreciate being on.
Thank you.
I'll be on any day, any time. Alec proved this by calling me at 6:45 the other day when I was supposed to be on 7:45, waking me up. He's like, "Can you come on?" I was like, "Well, I'm awake now, so I guess I can." So he proved that I have no pride. I'll come on any time. But you do such a great job. Enjoy the holidays and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. That meant a lot to me. Rich Lowry, I love you. Thank you so much. We'll talk next year.
Talk soon.
All right,
Great.
pal. There he is, the great Rich Lowry, the editor of the Nat Review.